So I recently got a tattoo, which I never thought I would ever do, especially growing up in a super conservative Christian house. Getting a tattoo was basically saying that you're going to go to hell. And so I basically wrote it off, but like 7, 8 years ago, I started thinking about it. It's like, man, I really like the way tattoos look. And so it was just kind of in the back of my mind. And with the kind of a caveat, I'd be like, if I do this big life thing, start my own business, quit my 9 to 5 job, if it gets successful, I'll get a tattoo or something like that. But then my cousin, like 3 or 4 years ago, got into tattooing. So he's like, hey, if you ever want to get a tattoo, let me know. I'll give you one for free. So I was like, oh, yeah, that'd be cool. And so I just kind of thought about that for a while. And then recently, in the last year, I started my own business, and it's doing really well. And I've just made a couple mental, overcome a couple mental blocks. And one of them was life is really short to care about what other people think. And so the thing that was hanging me up from getting a tattoo was like, what are people in my life going to think about it? My mom, especially. She's like not a big fan of them. So I was like, but it's like, why not go for it? So I think it was like 2 months ago, I contacted my cousin. It's like a 3-hour drive from where I live. She's like, yeah, let's do it. So went over, had a 4-hour long tattoo session. And for some reason today I decided to talk about this and wear a shirt where you can't see it, but it's basically starts up here, it goes down here. It's kind of like a sleeve. And eventually I want to do a whole sleeve all the way down my arm, but currently it's like a t-shirt sleeve. So, but yeah, the main reasons I did it was it's symbolic to me of overcoming a few of those mental hurdles, which number one is just you got to live your own life and you got to do what makes you happy and do things for your own reasons and not for what you think other people are going to think. At the end of the day, if you die, people are going to stop thinking about you within 2 weeks for the most part. I mean, obviously the people that love you the most are going to think about you for longer, but the people that are going to be vocal about not liking what you do, getting a tattoo, etc., if you die, like, what's the worst that's going to happen? That you got a tattoo. So that was a big one. And plus, with my business doing well, I was like, this is just going to make a good snapshot in history of me, kind of commemorizing that. Is that a word? Commemorating that. So yeah, I've got a tattoo on my shoulder. The other thing is I wanted to get a tattoo of some of things that mean a lot to me. So the first one is it's basically a mountain landscape with a tree on the mountain itself. And what that symbolizes is my personal philosophy of optimalism that I came up with. And the core idea behind it is live your life in such a way that you are ready for anything, because life is always going to throw stuff at you. And so if you're constantly optimizing to be the best you can be within any given moment, you'll be ready for the stuff that happens. And a good analog for that in my mind is, so I grew up in the mountains. I'm from the mountains. I love the mountains. You go to these mountainous areas, and usually at the top of a mountain there's going to be a lone tree. And it's adverse conditions for a tree. There's not a lot of soil. There's a ton of wind. But still, there's a tree, and it's been there for decades, and it's growing up towards the sun. So it really symbolizes that optimalist mindset of it's going to be tough to grow. It's going to be tough to do the best you can do, but you got to do it every day. And if you do, eventually you're going to exceed your goals, and you're going to exceed what you thought you could do, what other people thought you could do. It's just that daily striving to do the best that you could do. And so I thought that'd be a really cool tattoo, and that's what's on my arm here. So eventually I'll make a video about it, probably. I've got another session in a couple weeks where I'm going to add to it. And the second part that kind of caps off the shoulder is it's the family crest, and it's actually on my dad's tombstone. But it's a family crest for Clan Boyd, which is a Scottish clan. And my dad was really into genealogy, and so he found out that our family, the Rays, were actually Boyds. Somehow our DNA is Boyd DNA, even though we have the Ray last name. And Clan Boyd in Scotland has a crest, and the crest is of a hand doing this. And it's like encased in a belt, and on the top of the belt it says Confido, which is Latin for trust. And the story behind that is in the Middle Ages, the Vikings had come ashore in Scotland, and the King of Scotland was repelling them, but the leader of Clan Boyd in this particular part of the battle was leading a charge against the Vikings. And the leader of Clan Boyd and the King of Scotland were kind of like on opposite hills, but they could see each other. And so just before the leader of Clan Boyd was getting ready to go charge against the Vikings, maybe certain death, but he was leading the charge. The King of Scotland made that symbol to him, which is trust. Like, I trust you to do this. And that was poignant enough that they adopted that as their clan insignia. And so my dad, in his genealogy work, found that out and ended up getting that put on his tombstone when he passed away a few years ago. And so for those kind of two meanings, I thought it'd be really cool to have it on my shoulder. And so I've got the mountain and the tree, the crest up here, and then to get the rest of the shoulder capped off, I'm going to go back and get lightning, like around, there's like clouds that kind of are around the crest on top of the mountains. I'm going to get some lightning around it to kind of cap off the shoulder. And that means a couple things. Like, the first thing is just obviously it adds to the landscape. The second is that my dad was an electrician. I grew up doing electrical work. I've got an electrical engineering degree. Still do a lot of electrical stuff. So the lightning is just going to symbolize that electrical stuff, which is a big symbol in my life. But yeah, and the rest of it, like I said, I'm going to try to do the rest of the sleeve, but it's all going to be meaningful stuff. Some ideas I've got, that my grandpa had this Black Panther little statue that he had in his office, and I used to see it growing up. I loved it, and so he ended up giving it to me. Now it's in my office at home, not here, but I'd really like to get that. Just some other stuff like that. It's like meaningful symbology to me. Yeah, I'm still feeling it out, trying to figure out what the rest of it's going to look like, but I love it a lot. And there's been a few people, like my mom, when I told her I was going to do it, she's like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure." And she actually called me when I was driving to go get it, asked me again. She's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, Mom, I'm sure." And then she called me after I got it done. She's like, "Are you happy with your decision?" Like, "Yeah, I'm happy with my decision." So, you know, she's accepting of it, but not the hugest fan. But I love it. So that's the main thing. And then I was playing a gig the other weekend with a guy I grew up with, and I was kind of curious to see what he thought about it, because he grew up similar to me. And he saw it, and he's like, "Hey, man, do you have a tattoo?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I showed him. He's like, "Oh, man, that's awesome." He's like, "I've been thinking about getting one too." So that's just another indicator. Like, there's movies that play out in your head, and you always kind of imagine the worst case scenario. But at the end of the day, it's not ever going to be as bad as you think it is. So for something like that you've been thinking about going forward, something that's going to mean a lot to you, go for it. You know, at the end of the day, that's all that matters, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. And tattoos certainly don't do that. So, or some tattoos don't. Yeah, that's why I have a tattoo on my arm, and it's why I'm planning to get more. And yeah, I'm excited.